Good morning. Welcome to the NAMM Show 2024. My name is Terri Quinlan, and we are going to be meeting an amazing jazz pianist this morning who just got back from Taiwan and other places nearby. And he's going to tell us about how he got started in this business of making jazz music. His name is Kirk Andres Wilson. Welcome to my program.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here, and I'm just flattered that you invited me, and just excited.
Yes, I'm glad. I have to say to our audience out there that we met at Campus Jacks.
Yep.
And we met because you sang happy birthday to me with your own personal version of happy birthday.
Of course.
And you were mentioning to me that you have several versions.
I have 8 happy birthdays, and all 8 of them are totally original, and none of them sound like happy birthday to you.
Right.
Neither sounds like that. I just got tired of singing happy birthday, and it's like, okay, it has to be a better way. And so yeah, that's just something I think.
So a break from the traditional to see how it works, and your imagination's going for it. And so you did one, and you go, that was pretty good. Let's do another. Is that?
I mean, like what happens is, like, when you're doing a live performance and then you sing an original happy birthday to someone, and then there's another person who says, hey, it's my birthday too, but you can't sing the same song.
Right. Never thought of that.
It gets a little bit redundant.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. But that just shows your talent at songwriting. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
And you are amazing. That was the first time I'd ever even heard you play, and really liked I think you were there with just piano. It was just you, wasn't it? You didn't have your band with you.
No, that particular night it was singer songwriting night, and I think that's the only place in Newport Beach that offers something like that, where people that are inspiring upcoming artists have an opportunity for a stage, other than like the certain restaurants in town that have the
Like
karaoke,
Yeah.
So Newport Beach has that's like my favorite place to play in town.
Very nice house.
Yeah.
The piano's good, and they also do streaming from that shoot.
Yeah,
so
they stream live. So just to promote my upcoming show that I had that actually sold out.
And you did right after that at the place in North Hollywood.
Actually, it's in Bel Air.
Bel Air. Okay.
Yeah, it's called Herb Albert's.
I've been there.
Vibrato. Yeah,
Beautiful place.
That's a really, really amazing place to play. It's such a warm atmosphere, and people actually listen.
Great sound room. Really, really nice. And good food too. So let's really talk about you, because you're originally from Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And you have some influences that got you to the place where you are today.
Yes,
and I know you do all your own marketing, so you're not just a musician. You've made to know how to make a business out of music. So let's talk about your background. You did, and unlike some musicians, they only play by ear, like the Beatles. They don't necessarily have a formal education with classical music and all that kind of thing. So tell us about your background and how you got into this business, partly from your family, right?
Right. Well, I don't remember when I started. I always played my whole life. I
kind of born with it.
I cannot recall a time in my life when I was not playing from one instrument or another. There was a time when I was spending hours and days learning the chromatic harp. And there's something my grandpa gave me. He said he wouldn't allow me to learn the blues harp. My grandpa called it harp, but it's harmonica.
Okay, yeah.
So the harmonica I learned has a button. Or valve. And basically you press it and you can play the entire chromatic scale just like a piano. So it's not like the F. You're playing a key of G, and you pick up another one, and you're playing a key of B flat.
Yes. A little bit.
So I learned that when I was a kid, and I learned. I started on guitar. I have my first guitar, but I don't remember ever playing it.
Really?
Yeah, my godson gave it to me right as I was leaving to come to California. He's like, I have a gift for you. I said, what's this little thing, man? He's like, that's your first guitar. My daddy got it when I was a little kid. I got my new guitar, which like I think was my first either a Stratocaster or Telecaster or something
Yeah.
that I got for one of my birthdays. And so I just like dropped it on the ground. I don't know about this stuff, man, you know? So I'm like, man, what are you talking about? And so it was like my first guitar. And I
And
have
you
it. It's
kind of
like
did, I
a
guess I might as well do this. Did you have, like, some people have the instruments in their hand and then I've got to do this. This is going to be the rest of my life. Not you know,
Oh,
was it like that? No,
well,
it was handed to you and said, you must do this.
no, I think that happened. I just don't remember it happening, you know, because I don't know anything else that it's my purpose in life.
Yes.
There's nothing else for, I mean, I'm not going to say there's nothing else for me to do because I have done other things that were successful, but it all came back to me being a musician.
Yes. And then,
Because,
so you decided not necessarily to stay with the guitar. And then you went in a different direction, right?
I mean, I remember in church, I would like walk down the piano and just play keys. And I figured out if I played every other key, it sounded good. So I would just like walk down the piano playing thirds, you know,
Yeah.
and the keys were level with my eyes.
Mhm.
I remember that.
Mhm.
But my mom said that was my first time playing. My
Really?
first time playing, I was sitting in her lap, which I vaguely remember that. So that's how I started. But if we fast forward to the serious aspect of it, I mean, I've been on to college. I studied under Dr. David Evanson, classical piano, and then I studied under Gretchen McGee, who was um, the instructor, piano instructor for Bill Evans.
Did you feel that when you were getting that instruction that you already had some of it in your psyche or in your, like, maybe you were born with it to come really easy?
Well, yeah, I kind of knew that because my freshman year I was a guitar major, and so I had to take class piano. And so it was so easy. And so you know, we had like it was a classroom full of Wurlitzers, and we all had our headphones. And so one day I was playing "I Wish" by Stevie Wonder, and my teacher, he could like push a button and listen to each
Oh, sure.
student.
Right, right. Uh-huh.
And I didn't know this, you know. And so I'm just jamming some Stevie Wonder, you know, and he looks at me and it's I'm like, why is he
Shocked.
looking at me? So I stopped playing.
Got
Come
back
with
to you.
me. I get in the hallway and he threatens to remove my 2 A's I got from the last 2 semesters. It was actually my first semester sophomore year. That's when he discovered that I was
Piano's the instrument.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then he demanded that I become a double major. So I became a double major, piano and guitar.
That's awesome.
And also tuba was my scholarship instrument. So Dr. McCormick was my tuba instructor. And so I was getting private. I was doing 1 hour studio. I mean, 1 hour with Dr. McCormick on tuba, 1 hour with Dr. Karen White on guitar, and 1 hour with Dr. David Evanson on piano, and another hour with Dr. Gretchen McGee
That is
in piano.
quite amazing. And you know what's also amazing is that you remember the name of every single instructor. Because some people, yeah, I couldn't tell you who my instructor was, you know, from way back when, because it's like the blur. I mean, it just shows your intelligence, but
Oh,
also
thank
it shows your loyalty to the people that got you where you are today. And that's really significant because not everybody spends that much time learning on a true level of learning and the skill and everything. So it's pretty cool.
Well, you know, it was the standard was set early because my grandfather was very strict, and you know, he would come, he would walk in the living room, and he would sit down and have some coffee. Say, okay, let's get in the music room. So we had a separate room in the house with just all the instruments.
Yeah.
So we go in there and he said, okay, play me a D7. I mean, I'm better play a D7. If I played an A7, I was getting caned on my shin.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah, he
so
kept you going. And then you also mentioned, we were talking yesterday and you were telling me about the influences about just in your home listening to music.
right. I mean, that's one of the things I think these days that's missing a little bit in terms of the development of the young artists, because so many people are so involved in developing their own sound, which is good because I have my own sound.
You do. We
Um,
talked about that too.
yeah, but the thing is, my own sound was created from listening. When I grew up, like we had to listen, and it's like, okay, don't practice now. Get off the instrument, listen. And it was days when, okay, you can listen while you do your homework, but your homework is finished. Okay, now we're gonna listen to Nat King Cole. Now we're gonna listen to Lou Rawls. Now we're gonna listen to Oscar Peterson. Now we're gonna listen to I mean it was everybody from Bing Cosby to Elvis to I mean I was pretty much restricted when I was a kid. I couldn't listen to John Lee Hooker
Oh,
or Buddy Guy, I mean that was like
sure.
over the top devil music,
That was your family. Traditionally, you're talking more like leaning towards gospel or church.
gospel and jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that that's not a good foundation, but it's not Stevie Ray or any of that.
Well, but growing up in a traditional Christian home
Mhm.
back in that day, the blues. It's not that the music was bad, because like I learned years ago. I heard this quote, and one of my elders said it, and I heard Ray Charles say it, but I don't know who was the first one to say it. But the only difference between gospel and blues is one is about the Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ, God. The other is about a woman,
Thought of it that way.
but it's the same music.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So what divides them is just the 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 lyrics.
Yes, of course.
So if you remove the lyrics, it's like, well, how do you know? And
Well,
so
that's what Elvis Presley's kind of noted for, right? The background was blues, and yet he just matched things up for his lyrics.
well, not only Elvis, but I mean, so many artists who influenced me that I listen to, like for example, Earth, Wind and Fire.
Love
They
those
have
guys.
lots of jazz in their music. They have some gospel in their music. Frankie Beverly and Mays, lots of gospel in his music. Lots of jazz. So, and when we say jazz, we're not just. I mean, like, what is jazz? Like, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
Like, how do you define what
Improv.
jazz is?
Yeah.
And that's a whole. We need a whole nother.
Another program.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
totally get that.
that's a long discussion for me,
Sure.
because I have some personal opinions, very personal opinions about defining what jazz is. But growing up, what helped me develop and understand the necessity of education in music was hearing my grandpa always tell me, you don't want to be illiterate. And I hated that word. Like I learned early on, like illiterate, that means you can't read. So I want to know how to read. I know how to read, Grandpa. Okay, well, don't grow up being an illiterate musician.
Right.
So
And one of the things that I love to participate in here at NAMM is the NAMM Foundation. They're all about continuing music education and arts in schools. And they go to Washington, D.C. every year to make sure that everybody's on the same page about music education in schools. And somebody like you who's you can sit here and say, yes, I did it. It's true. Keep going, because a lot of people say, it's too much. I don't want to do it. So you just keep the faith and move forward. It's really cool. So tell me a little bit about you coming from, because you're in Louisiana. So what prompted you to make a move to California? Did you do it as a career move, or what was that about?
So after Southeastern, I furthered my education at Southern University in Baton Rouge. And my professor there, his name is Alvin Baptiste. He's passed on now, but I just never forget, but like he had this Atari computer, and he said,
I remember that name.
you're going to learn how to do music on computers. That's the future. And I mean, like class is over.
And you went,
Mr.
what?
You're right. And he's like, no, class over, but you get on in here. You got to learn this too. And class is over. Okay, no, you need to learn how to play this Coltrane. Class over. Yeah, I know class over, but what you doing at 4:00?
So did you kind of think, nah, not for me?
Oh no, I loved it because
yeah.
the thing is, he opened up my mind to so many things. And so right around at that time, one of his former students, his name is Branford Marcellus.
I heard that name for sure.
At the time, he had just started performing with Sting. I mean, I think he was with Sting like maybe 3 years by then. So he was with Sting for a while. And so he had Branford come and talk to us. And it wasn't like some official sit down class thing. Branford just showed up as very casual.
Sure.
Just like 3 or 4 of us in the room. And Mr. Bat had him come and talk to us and imparted some wisdom. And then he said, okay, so he talked to me. I'm not going to name the other 2 guys in the room, but he said, look, when you leave here, you have to leave. You have to go to New York or LA. You cannot stay in New Orleans.
So you're like breaking the mold and getting you like the little bird needs to fly, kind of like that.
He basically said, if you don't vow to leave, I'm not going to continue to teach you.
Wow.
I'm not going to take you serious. If you think you're going to stay around Baton Rouge and New Orleans and have a career here, I'm not going to take you serious. So if you're really serious, you have to promise me you're going to leave.
That is awesome. And
so
you said, okay.
He said, after you graduate, I want to see a plan. You're going to move on and be successful. What are you going to do? And so we basically had to okay, Mr. Baptiste, we're going to leave. So Mr. Bat had us all pinky swear. So I always felt like I owed him that to try.
Sounds like the career opportunity of your life, because it obviously a lot of people hang out right where they grew up. They play in the same place. They find gigs local. They got a big fan base, but they're not expanding their own. And that kind of leads us into a little bit of a talk about songwriting, because when you're touring, it seems to be most musicians, when you're touring, you're not writing, or it's kind of hard to fit writing in because you're so warped up for the tour, right? So Tell me a little bit about your songwriting. How does that come to you?
Well, my songwriting comes supernaturally.
Some people call it the muse, I guess.
It's the Lord, God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost. That's how I get my songs.
Amen.
And I have to give him the honor and the glory and all the credit for it, because I've been to writing sessions with musicians. I've been to recording studios, and I've seen musicians sit there and ponder like, okay, so this A flat goes with this C. Okay. And they're doing it from a academic perspective.
Yes.
Well, I can do that too.
Academic perspective.
Yeah, I can do it from the academic. But when I get a song, it comes to me like gift wrap. I hear the whole thing. If it has lyrics, I hear all the lyrics. I hear the drums. I hear the violins, the violas, the cellos, the percussion, the bass line,
The
the
tuba.
guitar part. If there's a tuba, I hear that. But it's like, when you're in the twilight of between a deep sleep and waking up, that moment in the wee hours of the morning, and for me that might be 3 or 4 times in a night, if I'm tossing or turning. And most of the time I sleep very well, but there's times when, I might wake up in the middle of the night because the neighbor's dog is barking,
Mhm.
and I might think it's a coyote in the backyard. So I'm gonna look out the window and say, is that a coyote? And then I lay back down, and right as I'm going to sleep, it's like a boombox in the corner.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I know in my natural mind that there's not a boombox in the
Right.
corner, but I can hear the music
Yes.
and the energy of the music. And it's like, okay, I need to record this.
And it's all the music. It's not
I
just,
hear
not just the
everything.
lyrics
Yeah.
or it's the
It's like
orchestration and the boombox.
It's like a
It's
brain.
amazing.
It's
I've never heard anybody say that before because I've interviewed many musicians, and it's usually like the lyrics come or that some orchestration comes or like a little melody or a little short thing. I think Kenny Loggins talked last year about he puts titles of songs in a book, carries the book, and 5 years later he might pick up that name of a song and put it in something,
yeah.
So people do different methods of coming up with writing, but it's those moments of you kind of, it sounds like when there's an onset, it's brewing and then it's here.
Right. And then there's other times where it's something that I just heard and I'll hear a variation of it.
Uh-huh.
Just like, Mozart or Bach in inventions. You have like one song that's played 5 different ways.
Sure.
And sometime I'll get an idea and say, well, I'm gonna cover the song. But instead of playing it this way, I'm gonna play it my way.
Yes.
Well, what is my way? It's something that I heard. So pretty much everything on my album, which is to come. I mean, like while I was in Asia, I figured out that I need to press a vinyl
Yes.
because I was so floored when I saw. I saw like a couple of thousand people in this big giant music store
Yes.
buying
It's
CDs
kind of like
and
what
albums.
we used to do at like Tower Records or something like that.
Well,
It
this was like a
like
tower.
that.
It wasn't Tower Records, but it's like it's
and
on
it's
a Tower
vinyl.
Records level.
Yeah. But there
Humongous
is, but
store.
there is some piracy involved in all that, right?
Huh?
There is some piracy involved in all that because they don't have your permission for your album to be there.
Well,
Or do they? Probably not.
when I print my vinyl, I'm gonna go there and bring it to them,
Okay.
and then we won't need piracy because they'll have my permission,
There. That's
and I'll
that's
have
a
enough
way better
product.
way, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the best way to beat it. But yeah, I mean, I've had a few people from other countries bring me a copy of my pirated CD and say, "Can you sign the CD?" And I'm like, "Where did that come from? That's not my CD."
Yeah.
And
That's got to be.
my CD
You
is a
wouldn't do that
jewel
in the United
case.
States. That would be kind of really like a no, big no.
Yeah, my CD is a jewel case, and they hand me a little cardboard uh, insert. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I know that's not.
Yeah.
I didn't make that. So, but at the same time, I also recognize it as a compliment
Sure.
because it
And you
means
were saying
somebody
that.
loves my music enough to want to steal it.
They're in somewhere in Asia, and your jazz, American jazz, is popular there, and they ask you to come, and you can't beat that, right?
Right. I mean, like, I was in an Uber where the Uber driver was playing Hank Williams Jr.
That's
And I'm
amazing.
like, wow, yeah, American music dominates. I mean,
Right, in the
like-
car, in the cab.
like
Right.
my first time going to Moscow, I remember walking into the I walked off the plane, I'm going down the corridor, and I walked into the area where you go into customs,
Uh-huh.
and Beyonce Crazy is blasting in the airport in Moscow.
Wow.
So I don't know if she knows it or not, but she can do a big show over there in
The
Moscow.
power of music is so amazing.
Yeah.
I have one last question, and that is, if you were talking to a young person who's thinking about getting into the music business, maybe teetering on, do I want to do education? Do I want to play in a band? What should I do? How should I start? Do you have any recommendation to just say somebody's standing here, listening to every word to see what you have to say about their future? What will you say to a young person?
Okay. I'm not gonna make a list.
No,
I'll just say
real answer.
I'm just gonna say what the first thing comes to my mind is you have to learn to listen to music. The next generation of talented musicians that's coming up in the world must learn to listen. That's an acquired skill, and it's something that um listening and hearing is not the same thing.
I think you mentioned yesterday about when you're listening, you also listen to the silence, which most people don't think about. Comedians do it because they know in the course of their making jokes, there's a moment of silence because there's a break in the thought process and all of that. But the people who listen to music don't necessarily are aware that that is an essential part as well.
Yeah, I mean that's like a big part of it. But what I'm referring to is, um, for example, when I go into like the coffee shop,
Yes.
I look around, everyone's
Oh
two
yeah.
thumbs on the phone.
Yeah. Sad story.
Okay. And the thing is, there's music playing in the coffee shop,
Yes.
but the two fingers on the phone. So you're not listening. So without the listening, you'll never hear the music.
That's right.
So
Because it's a background ambient sound.
and it's not on the front of your mind.
Yes.
The front of your mind is whatever you're texting or your social media.
Right.
That's the front of your mind. So the music is being listened to.
Yes. Yes.
And without listening, you'll never hear it. You have to first listen. Like the one of my favorite scriptures. I'm not gonna quote scriptures, but one of my favorite scriptures: "He who hath an ear to hear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches." Well, you have to have an ear to hear, but you can't hear unless you listen first. So, so the young musicians that are coming up, they have to listen to music. I've always felt that's one of my strong points is that I listen to music. So when I play something, I'm playing something that I've heard already. It's not like, well, let me experiment. Let me see what happens if I do this. But I've actually heard it already. So that's a great advantage. It's kind of like a lawyer who's already sat in someone's courtroom and watched another lawyer
Sure.
work
Or
a case.
they've already done a lot of research, so they know some of the parameters of that particular thing. It's just like music.
Exactly.
In fact, I was talking to somebody who is she loves math and she's a bass player.
Yeah.
She loves the logic and the reasoning that happens in music. It's
Well, yeah.
really true. When there's a dissonance, you hear it. It's like when you're used to listening, it's like, what is going on here? Or somebody's playing in the wrong key. I'm like, what are you talking about?
And you have to and that comes with listening to even know that dissonance exists.
Right.
And the call and response to know that it exists and to know that you have to have the tension and the release. If you write a song and everything is just a major seventh chord, that's a boring song. And that's some of the things that's going on in some of the next generation, well, not just next generation, this generation of today's music.
Sure.
We have lots of songs like when we talk about like the easy chorus or songs without the tension. I would say the most successful example of that would be Just My Imagination by the Temptations.
Yes.
So that's like
Love that song.
C major 7 to D minor 7. It's very, very basic. But then if you listen long enough, there's still tension build up because every night I need and pray. That there's a little bit of tension there because it it takes you somewhere else. And then there's a different change. There's a bridge that crosses you over to the other side of the song,
Sure.
which is the vamp. You know
Yeah,
what I
of
mean?
course, yeah. That's
So,
exactly what you mean.
so there's still, even with that song, there's a tension. But the average musician today don't even know these things exist because they don't listen to music long enough to hear. So they'll listen to music while they're driving the car, they'll listen to music while they're texting, they'll listen to music while they're working on the computer, listen to music while they're writing the thesis, the report for class, listen to music while they're on the phone talking to somebody. But when I grew up, my dad had these huge speakers, had one in each corner of the room,
Serious listening.
and the stereo was in the middle.
Uh-huh.
You know, and you pick what album you wanted to listen to, and you put it on, and you sat down in the middle of the room, and you listened. And you couldn't do, I mean, like I said, you can do your homework, but when your homework's over, okay, you're gonna listen to some more music. And you know, we might listen to Mahalia Jackson, we might listen to the old Aretha Franklin when she was with her father,
Yes.
Reverend C.L. Franklin, or we might listen to Stevie Wonder,
Sure.
you know, from the
He
70s.
was here last night. Did you know that?
Yeah.
That was.
No, he was here when I had to go talk to you.
I know. That was interesting.
You know, I
So
started to tell you, but I didn't want to.
I didn't know he was going to be here, but yeah, that's one of the
He
really.
performer takes 6 on the main stage.
Yes, and it was the gospel. It was actually not gospel. They call it worship night. That Yamaha sponsors it. It was pretty. I usually go to that. So, yeah, one of the fun things we experience at the NAMM show every year we come, we see family of musicians that just are, God, I haven't seen you in so long. How you doing? You know, that happened to me this morning, and so it's part of the whole experience of walking around at NAMM and meeting new people, learning some new stuff about techniques and what people are doing these days. And I wish you continued success in your career. And I'm glad that we were able to take a few minutes to meet and chat. And now we get to go do the NAMM show and do some more of it. And
Yeah.
I'll be back at Jack's, so hope to see you there and make it over to Vibrato
So-
sometime, maybe.
I'll be back at Campus Jacks in April.
Okay.
I
We're
forgot
in
to do the exact
2024
date,
at the
but-
recording of this, so it's probably too far out anyway for our recording.
Okay.
But yeah, just I can always check at Campus Jacks and other places where you're going to be. And you have a website
Yes.
to give
Yes.
your name of your website.
KirkAndre.com.
Okay.
That's Kirk like Captain, Andre like the Giant.
Okay. All right.
Um,
I got it.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure to
Thank
be
you,
with
Miss
you.
Terry. Really
Bye.
appreciate you for having me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And thank you all for watching. And we'll be back with maybe you another time. We'll see what happens.
Looking forward to it. I hope I answered your question, Mel, about the next generation of
Yeah, it
musicians.
was good.
That was just one point. I had
I'm sure
many
you've
points,
got
but I don't
more.
want to talk too much.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you again next
Thank
time.
you.